There are some lies in our science books. Taught it for 15 years. Even though I'm not teaching it anymore, I still like the study. There's so many neat things to learn. We're going to cover some of that tonight.
Perception is being managed. We are being steered and guided by a hidden hand.
The whole world has been duped by the media that is not real.
Smart thinking, possible time traveler, smart thinking.
That night, boom, contact memory.
And then, Alex, if you don't agree, you'll be sent to a re-education camp.
Just because I'm old doesn't mean I've lost my touch with the ladies.
A lot of people here tonight felt like they lost. You know why?
Now, experts are suggesting that we're in a golden age of shape-shifting reptilian sightings. Now, why is that?
I was, and still am, a huge conspiracy guy. I literally ran out of new tin hat topics to research.
It was most definitely not capable of melting steel.
Then I would be a crackpot if I thought that was the case.
Welcome to the Hypothetical Institute, a podcast about conspiracies.
My name is Luke.
Salty, anything to add to that?
Sorry, I'm not with it today, boys. I was just started reading something. I'm Salt.
Oh, sorry, we're not keeping you, are we?
Oh, you always are. But like, all you keep me from is sitting around in a fucking daze. So, sorry, can we do it again?
No,
welcome.
Keep this in.
Yeah, welcome to the Hypothetical Institute, a podcast about conspiracies.
My name's Luke.
I'm Salt.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Cam.
Sorry about that, guys.
No need to apologise. I get distracted all the time.
Yeah.
I'd be hypocritical if I blamed you for that. What are we talking about, Cam?
We've got a fun one today. Not really.
No.
That was a little psych out.
Yeah.
We are going to be talking about the shooting in Queensland, which is quickly entering the annals of Australian conspiracy theories as like the new Port Arthur, which is ironic because one of the people that perpetrated the murders in Queensland is a Port Arthur truther. And so I don't think he ever expected that one day he would be the person people are saying, that guy's not real. It was all a setup. It all came full circle for him.
I feel like we've talked about this before, how when someone finally does what all these cookers are talking about doing, everyone turns on and says, it's a false flag. That person's really a narc. They're never the hero that they think they're going to be.
No.
And that should be, I don't know, maybe we need to tell them all that. Hey, look at everyone else. You think they're a narc? That's going to be you. Anyway, what happened?
So last week in the Wieambilla area, which is out near Chinchilla in Queensland, do you have any idea where any of those places are, Robbo? Yeah, actually, what did I ask you? I'm like, let's ask the New Zealand person if they know where Wieambilla is. Salty, have you ever been out that way?
Yeah, it's inland.
Yeah,
from Brisbane and that.
Have you ever been out that way?
What's the mainest town that it's near? Is it out near Toowoomba?
It's out near Tara.
Oh, I've probably been out that way. I would have been out that way at some point. I did a bit of driving around Queensland.
I'll tell you, it's 2 and a bit hours west of Toowoomba.
Right. Yeah.
Out near Condamine.
Right. Yeah. I don't think I went out that far, but yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of weird. I've spoken to a few people from Queensland, and I guess a lot of Queenslanders that we would know are just from like Brisbane or the Gold Coast or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's like that whole world just very shortly west of Brisbane that no one goes to.
Yeah. A lot of people, Queensland is the southeast corner and that's basically it.
So
like a gigantic quarter of the entire country left of Queensland that is actually a place as well.
So what happened is there was a guy called Nathaniel Train. He's from New South Wales. He's an ex-principal. He's gone missing, or he's been reported missing by his ex-wife. He's sort of stopped communicating with his family. So they've gotten a bit concerned. They've put in a missing persons report. The police in New South Wales have sent a message to police in Queensland. We've got this missing person. His brother lives in Queensland. Could you guys go check it out? So 4 cops have gone out to this property, which is owned by Gareth Train and Stacey Train, who Gareth is the brother of Nathaniel. They've gone to check out this missing persons report to see if he's hanging out there or if Gareth knows where he is. When they've gotten there, they've discovered that Gareth and Nathaniel and Stacey are waiting for them with rifles. They've ambushed them. 2 of the cops are shot straight there. They've shot one of the other cops who's gotten away in a car, and the 4th cop has gotten away into the bush. So they have gone over to the cops that they shot dead or have wounded significantly. They took their pistols off them and executed them, and then they've set the bush on fire to try and flush out the other cop. At some point, their next door neighbour from up the road has heard shooting, that has seen that they set one of the cop cars on fire, so they've come to check out what's going on. They've got into the front gate of the property, and then they've been shot in the back by a rifle as well. And then a siege ensues when highly trained CERT cops have rocked up to the house, and eventually everyone in the house is shot dead. So that's what happened.
Jesus.
Why are we talking about it?
So, like I said before, it's become the new Port Arthur because for a couple of reasons. One, I think that this would have become a conspiracy theory thing anyway, even if it was just like, they were on meth and it was like a bit of a shootout or whatever. But the conspiracy community has really taken this one hard because the people at this house were conspiracy theorists. They were anti-vaxxers, and they had some pretty interesting ideas about the way the world worked and some slightly out there religious views. And so the conspiracy theory world is saying not only is this like, they're sort of split. They're saying, this is like an attack on conspiracy theorists, like they've gone and they've killed our guys, or they're saying this is all a setup to make us look bad. They've gone and killed some random people, and now they're saying they're conspiracy theorists. And some of them are saying all of this at the same time, which gets a little confusing.
It is one of some of the conspiracy theory threads you try and hold on to when you're watching videos and listening to things. And yeah, you're just like, oh, hang on. All of the things you're saying refute everything else you're saying. It did seem to me that, or my brief research into this, Gareth was claimed or talked about re-education camps. He thought he was being gang stalked. He thought they were sending drones out to gang stalk him. I don't think he was calling it gang stalking. And being anti-vaxxers as well was a key part of it. Kind of a grab bag of all the hits, really.
Yeah, they seem to. They've been described in the media a lot as like sovereign citizens. And I think so Gareth was sort of hanging around sovereign citizen forums, but I don't know, like he seemed to be a bit of a prickly pear. And there's a few like conversations where he's like having a go. Yeah. You say that, are you laughing at that understatement?
Yeah. Oh, it's this guy accused of pretty heinous crimes. Bit of a prickle pear, that one.
He was a bit, he did seem to be.
Don't want to talk to him before he's had his coffee.
He did seem to be a bit of a prickly pear, though. And so he's on these softsit forums and sort of like having a go at the like softsit influencers who are running the forums. But he did seem to also be sort of into it. So I think it's fair to say that he was a sovereign citizen, but I don't know if this was like a necessarily a sovereign citizen thing, besides the fact that they felt that like any cop coming onto their property had forfeited the right to life, which is, I guess you could say, an extreme sovereign citizen viewpoint.
Yeah, that's a bit of a leap in logic. It's sort of an advanced mode, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's sort of the end point of the logic, right? If you're saying that, you're so sovereign that your property is completely sovereign, that anyone coming onto it without your permission is committing, an act of war, invading it, then the logical conclusion is that you're allowed to do whatever to that person, which is what they sort of then meted out. where I think that they lose the moral high ground is that they also killed their next door neighbour who didn't cross into their property. And you might also say that if their problem was with the police, they lose some of the moral high ground doing that as well. But then again, you could also say they lose the moral high ground when they commit a bunch of murders.
I don't think, what you're saying is you're sort of implying they had the moral high ground in some way at all, but they never did. But in their minds, they did. So in their minds, killing people that come onto their property is just, they've still got the moral high ground.
Yeah, in their minds is what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, a little cat just walked up to my door. Hello.
What's this cat situation? Is it a cat you know?
Yeah, it's the cat from next door, and sometimes it just walks into the house.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's fucked. I would hate that.
You're allergic to cats.
Fucking hate every second of that. I would hate it even being at my door.
But he's sort of been let loose, and now it's like if I would ever let him walk into the house, I would set some clear boundaries. But somebody else has let him walk in, and now he's gone rogue.
What is he doing that's not crossing your boundaries would be?
I don't know if we know where he is.
Oh wait, he's walked in now.
He's in the house.
Right.
He just ran past me.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to something fun.
Traps out, mate.
Yeah, it was a good look. Have a little release valve there.
So yeah, that cat just encroached on your fucking sovereign land, Cam.
Yeah, God, that could have been a real dark metaphor that Cam was building up to.
All right, you need to go take care of this cat situation, Cam.
I think he's about to walk out. He won't move. Hang on, let me just sort this out, guys.
Jesus, fucking cats.
They just play by their own rules, Salty. I don't know why you're not into that.
Nah. The loose cannons, mate.
Exactly. Our cat isn't allowed outside.
I didn't think you were allowed to let cats outside at all. I thought that was the law.
No, it depends on the council. Overnight, particularly I think maybe where Cam is, you're probably not allowed him to let the cat out after dark.
Right.
Or once it starts getting
But then
dusky.
people are like, well, they fucking play by their own rules. If it doesn't come back before dark, nothing I can do about it.
No, you got to have
local wildlife.
A responsible cat owner should have a system. So, like, we would at dinner time, we would have the close the door one way,
right?
So the cat could get in, but couldn't get out. But then he figured out how to get out. So we came home one night.
Right.
We set it to one way, put some food out. Came home one night, the food was gone, and he'd busted free. He realized if he got his little paw under it, he could flick it up and shoot out.
Oh, what a cheeky little cat. And now his mate's in the backyard as well.
Oh, you got a whole cat party.
A cat party going on out there. All right. So, yeah, in their minds, they had the moral high ground.
Mm.
So, yeah, we've learned a lot of weird stuff about these three people. And I think that part of this is not the fault of anyone, but part of what is driving the conspiracy theories is that part of what's been driving the conspiracy theories is we've sort of been drip fed this information. I think that it's a consequence of just the way reporting works. The way, you could say we're being drip fed the information to let a narrative form, or you could say we're being drip fed information because people find out information as time passes and then they report it. But we've been finding every day there's been sort of another revelation about this group of people that have committed the crime. So initially we discovered that, Nathaniel is an ex-principal, that he's like this really well-liked guy, great to be around. There's photos of him with like Christmas baubles hanging off his beard. And the sort of reporting was like, how did this guy go from being beloved principal to cold-blooded killer? And there was a bit of pushback in social media as well to that reporting, because it's like, when a Muslim guy kills a bunch of people, there's never any story like, oh, he was such a great bloke. Here's the most lovely photo of him looking like the jolliest Santa Claus sort of thing. Then what we sort of discover next is that some people had the view of him that he was like the beloved school principal. And other people had a sort of a view of him that he was a psychopath. And both of the brothers had I would say the Yelp reviews from past students were pretty on the nose. Just fucked in the head, basically.
Right. So, yeah, one of the things I saw was, or the media was running with that quite hard early on. He was a school teacher. How did the school teacher end up so cooked? School teachers, they're beloved. But what you're saying, he certainly wasn't beloved at all.
No. And so the weird thing was that, like, you'd see in the media, how could a principal or a teacher, go bad like this? Every person I spoke to who went to, like, school in Queensland was like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if any of my teachers went on a killing spree. Like, I don't know.
They tormented teachers, eh? Like, every school anywhere just tormented the teachers for a start.
Well, they torment us, Robbo.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, I'm not certainly not saying that triggered him, like, but I had a lot of awful teachers that, yeah, absolutely, I could imagine shooting something up. But also, like, we made, teachers were crying pretty regularly in my school anyway.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And, like, looking back, it's like, oh, fuck that sucks. I think at the time I might have felt a little bit bad, but certainly now as I'm older, it's like, geez.
I was just recalling the other day, actually, a time when I was walking down the hallway and just heard from a classroom this really loud smashing noise. And then the teacher just came out and she was bawling her eyes out and she sprinted off to the staff room. And it's just like, because the kids were being absolute pricks.
What was the smashing noise, She
threw like a clipboard against the blackboard.
Oof.
Ditched it and stormed out.
Yeah, I guess the consequences of treating children like convicted prisoners is that sometimes there's going to be a prison riot.
No, there was definitely teachers that...
Little bloody bootlicker Robbo.
There's definitely teachers that did not deserve... There's certainly teachers that did deserve it.
Yeah.
Absolutely teachers. One of them, like, tried to friend me on Facebook when I first got on there. And he was, like, a real prick to kids. Like, and then I was looking, he's got all these, like, trying to be a cool, like, old dude now. And I was like, nah, not you. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm friends with a couple of my old teachers on Facebook. They were the all right ones.
Yeah.
Did you ever tell the story, Salty, on the podcast of the time that you messaged one of your old teachers on Facebook?
Did I talk about it on the podcast? I can't remember.
I think you did, but I'd like a summary because I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, because we used to have a thing at school called Marble Season, which is like a time of the year where everyone just inexplicitly started playing marbles and gambling like little fucking carnival folk. Screaming out like what you can win and what the gamble was and all this kind of stuff. It was insane, and it just popped up once a year randomly, and I never understood how or why or how it was organized. I assumed it was the teachers and the parents or something, but it was just weird because I never had marbles, but then all of a sudden I had marbles, and it's like, well, I guess my parents bought me marbles, but how did they know that like it was marble season? And some kids would come to school with huge amounts of marbles. Anyway, I found one of my old teachers on Facebook and sent him a message. And just was like, how did I put it? I put it in a real way that sounded really sus. Like, hey, you were my teacher at primary school. I've got some questions that I need answered. That have been like baffling me for my whole life. And he was like, depends on what the question is. And he was really like weirdly vague about it.
You should have sent that right at like 10:30 at night and then just left him on read and not replied the next day.
But yeah, no, that was pretty funny. I'm sure he was just like, uh-oh, what did I do in the 80s?
We had a little bit of a racket going on where we had a marble theft ring.
Right.
For some reason, I wasn't into marbles, which is strange for me because I liked sports and being competitive.
Yeah, and you like tiny, shiny things.
Yeah, but I'm like a crow, but I was into stealing them with a couple of other friends.
Right.
Which... It's a tiny school. Like it's like 100 kids at the school. Like you're gonna get found out pretty quickly. I don't know if we ever did. Anyway,
back to the murders. So yeah, we discovered that they're this teacher. We also discovered that maybe they weren't maybe the most beloved teacher. There's also, we discovered that Nathaniel Train had a heart attack at work, and that he then left the education system. And so that started a round of conspiracy theorizing, because they're like, oh, he had the jab. He got the jab. It gave him a heart attack, and then he's quit. So at that point they're loving him. Because they're like, oh yeah, this guy's found out, he's got on the jab, it's given him a heart attack, and now he's gotten so grumpy about the jab that he's, been driven to murder. And they're sort of like, yeah, that's fair enough. What we discover a little bit later though is he didn't get the jab, so he didn't get the vaccine. He refused the vaccine. Stacey Train, his sister-in-law / ex-wife, didn't get the vaccine, and so they were out of the education department.
Sorry, did I miss something?
So this is the other thing we discover about them is originally Stacey was married to Nathaniel, and then she left him for his brother, Gareth, and that had led to sort of a big family split. But weirdly, the people you would expect to be the most split in the family weren't.
What do you mean?
You'd expect Nathaniel and Gareth to never talk again, but they're the ones entering a murder pact. But it was like the dad was like, I'm not going to talk to them anymore.
Right. I mean, you see what's going on and you go, actually, I'm out. I don't need to be involved with you kids anymore. It might have been a convenient excuse. So, was Nathaniel there?
Yeah. So
okay.
When the police arrived to see if Nathaniel's there, he was there, and he and his brother were waiting with guns. So the other thing we discover is that Gareth Train was a pretty sort of prolific commenter on conspiracy blogs. And that was like fairly quickly people found a lot of his comments, which were talking about, a lot of religious stuff, a lot of MK Ultra. But I don't think really getting into the nitty gritty of like CIA drug experiments.
Just kind of like the concept of MK Ultra.
Yeah, I sort of get the feeling that he just felt that everyone was MK Ultra'd, like the whole world was MK Ultra'd, and that's why people didn't believe in his sort of specific religious ideas. Which I think is the way a lot of them talk about MK Ultra. They're like, they've put something in the water or whatever.
Or on the spinach.
And then, about 3 days, I went for a big look to see what Gareth Train had put out there and found all these comments. And a lot of his ideas, he had a real thing for the Jesuits, like the Catholic order. They were running the whole show. And to me, that's like sort of older gear. That's the sort of thing you'd get in a book that someone gives you in the street. His dad was like a preacher from way back, so I suspect a bunch of it comes from his dad, from his upbringing. But it did make it sort of sense to me that he didn't have this big social media profile. One of his comments was he felt that social media was like participating in a satanic ritual. So I think it's sort of like spinning a prayer wheel. Like when you were tweeting, or if you went on Facebook, you were taking part in the process of Satanism. So it made sense to me that he wasn't on social media. And then on Thursday night, someone sent me a link to his YouTube channel.
Right.
Which I would say falls very much into the category of social media, and as such is a bit on the satanic side. So
I'm guessing the YouTube has been taken down?
It has been taken down, but I watched all of his videos. The most chilling thing was that they had a video that they put up after they'd committed the murders.
Jesus.
Where they're saying these devils came onto our property, they came to kill us, but we killed them. Again, not really addressing the fact that they just killed another random guy. But then they're like, Don, we're coming home. They're talking to some guy called Don, who is just like this insane Christian YouTuber from Arizona, who they seem to have some sort of, they had like 6 subscribers. He has like 500. They seem to be in a two-way parasocial relationship with this YouTuber. Like there's a lot of commenting back and forth on the videos. Yeah, the weird thing is I went like looking through the other people commenting on Don's videos and the other people commenting on their videos. And there's all of these people that sounded exactly like them. Just completely insane people who are convinced the world's about to end and, lock and load.
When you say completely, like, as in a specific kind of angle and way of thinking about all this stuff, because, people thinking the world's about to end and they're being watched in MK Ultra is huge. It's big business now.
Yeah.
But are you saying there's they have a little pocket where they've got their own little thing, which is quite based in religion?
Yeah, I think it's a little community of people who think that the world's about to end, which is, they're not far off, but they think it's like imminent. Like, I think people having apocalyptic thinking is probably the most common religious belief in the world.
Like, kind of like the major theme of a lot of religions.
I think that thinking that it could end any minute is sort of quite common in like evangelical circles. But do you know what I mean? There's sort of a difference between thinking, the world could end any minute, and thinking, and that minute might be today. But I mean literally today. So I'm like, am I making sense? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who think, that the world could end today, but they don't actually think it. They're booking movie tickets. they're booking their Avatar 2 tickets at IMAX next week. I'm talking about people who think, right, it could be today, and I actually think it's today. And they seem to be part of a community that we're all thinking like this. And this Don guy did videos after they'd murdered people, and if someone gave you a shout out in their post murder recap, I feel like personally myself, I would be going out there saying things like, I don't approve of that. That was wrong to do. Is not saying that stuff. Very much the opposite.
All
right. One thing I saw that they had talked about in one of their videos was the New Zealand blood transfusion issue that's coming up.
Yeah, so this is the baby, I think it is.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think we can say his name. Baby W.
Oh, Baby W.
I think everyone knows the name now, though, so it's maybe it's past. Anyway, yeah, he was, because they were on InfoWars recently, his parents, and so he got. I think that him and his wife were talking a bit about that. Is she his wife, Stacey?
Yeah, Stacey was Gareth's wife.
Okay.
And previously Nathaniel's wife.
Yeah, I was going to say, did she might have been his partner, but she kept Nathaniel's name to make it easy.
Well, they had the same name, Robbo.
That's what I mean. So, she might have never got married, but she still had the last name Train. Anyway, yeah, so they talked about this case. And I watched a little bit about this case just as a bit of an aside. And it's pretty sad, just the whole thing, really.
Yeah,
so
for people that don't know, Robbo, if you could tell us about the Baby W case.
Yeah, so the baby needed a heart transplant or heart surgery, and the parents decided it needed to be unvaccinated blood. And one of the reportings, I said, there was kind of this weird thing about it because the baby had earlier surgery because and they were fine with the blood at that time, and then suddenly they've become really upset, and so it had to go to court, and eventually the court had to say you need to. We're taking control of your baby, custodianship, so they can have that surgery to save its life. And then that became the government's taking our kids off us to do Nazi medical experiments, which is almost a direct quote from when they're on InfoWars. I watched quite a little bit of that. I skipped through it, and for some reason they were saying it's proven that this in court now that the blood of a vaccinated person is a medical experiment, which I think they're just twisting words, or they are just twisting words, no doubt. So yeah, it's become one of those kind of flashpoints, which I don't think it'll be a big one for a while, a long time. But yeah, it's certainly becoming a case that New Zealand government taking kids away to perform experimental surgery on. So you could see why a person like, the people like the Trains would latch onto that as being something that they want to rebel against.
Yeah.
I guess as a footnote, the baby did have surgery, and by all accounts, it went really well. So that's good.
Yeah, but there was a very emotional video of them taking the baby away to have the surgery, and the parents like screaming at them, don't treat our baby. I think so. The Trains did put up a video about this, and I think what they were saying in their video was that the parents were cowards. What they should have done is kill the cops who were taking the baby away. Basically, is what they're saying. Or they should have fought them. And
well, cops in New Zealand don't carry guns, so
yeah. So I've seen people saying, "Oh, it looked like this was like a trigger for them." I think it just sort of backed up what they thought. So the impression I got from watching all of their YouTube videos and reading through the YouTube comments was they were sort of locked in on doing this for a little while. Like they decided if anyone comes onto any cops come onto our property, we're going to kill them. And that then a couple days before it happened, the New South Wales police put up this notice on Facebook saying, we're looking for Nathaniel Train, if anyone's seen him. And so at that point, they're like, they're going to come looking for Nathaniel. And from that point, they've just been waiting for the cops to come. And that's why they saw them coming.
Yeah, so the Nathaniel thing, was that intentional to lure them?
Well, so, yeah, that's one of the questions that's been going around is, did they call in, him as a missing person so that they could kill the cops who came looking for him? I don't think that happened. I think it's come out that the ex-wife, Nathaniel's partner after Stacey had filed a missing persons report because they were worried about him going off the grid. But I think they saw that the cops were looking for him, and so they were like, all right, they're going to come, and if they cross onto our property, we're going to kill them. But I think they'd already made the decision, we're going to kill some cops. And it was at that point that they made the decision, all right, probably in the next few days, we're going to have to do that. So one of the questions that's coming up quite a bit is, how did these fucking people have guns? And the first thing that we learned was that Nathaniel had a firearms license in New South Wales, and the Queensland cops didn't know that. And so if they had known that, they might have treated the situation differently. They might have been a bit more careful when they came to the property. And so there's been a lot of calls for there to be like a national firearms register, because it's all very separated at the moment. Then it comes out just a couple of days ago that during COVID lockdowns, Nathaniel Train had crossed from New South Wales into Queensland, had broken through, when they actually locked the border down between Queensland and New South Wales. He had gone to one of like the unmanned gates, used an angle grinder to open it, driven his car through, but then it was also when there was flooding happening. So he got through one lot of floodwaters. Robbo, never drive through floodwaters. You can't drive anyway, can you?
No.
But even you know that.
We were driving through some floodwaters recently.
Oh, Robbo.
And turned back.
Oh, Emma. Oh, good. Good job, Emma.
Yeah.
He drove through one lot of floodwaters and he was fine. So I guess, it's fine. But then he drove through the next lot of floodwaters and the car got stuck in the river. And then the property owners of the land he was on saw him. They've come out to, help out. They've seen him like dumping stuff in the water. He got on the phone to somebody and spoke in what seemed like a bit of code to them. And then someone's come and picked him up and he's left his car stuck there. Anyway, the flood recedes and they find all of these loaded guns that had been dumped around the car.
Right.
That's what he'd been chucking out. And they tell the cops all this. This guy crossed the border, has left his car there, and he was just packing a huge amount of heat. And we don't know what came of that, but apparently they told him, it's not a stolen car. It was his car that he got bogged. So
they're illegal guns?
Well, so we don't know if the guns were illegal or legal, but it's definitely illegal to leave a loaded gun on the ground.
Just laying around.
Just scatter them around.
Just scattered around. That's considered very illegal, I think.
Did he think the floodwaters were he'd heard all the warnings about floodwaters washing people away, and he's like, well, they'll wash my guns away as well.
Yeah.
They didn't.
So now the question we don't know is, And a lot of the conspiracy theorists are like, why did they send 4 cops? So they sent 2 cops from one police station and 2 cops from another. And they're like, why did they send 4 cops? Did they know that these guys were dangerous? And if they did know they were dangerous, why did they send like rookie cops? Or, so for them, they're like, this was a setup from the beginning. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. They're like, they sent 4 cops because they always meant for this to happen. But it's like, what are you saying, that they sent cops to get killed?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, the question is, did though Queensland Police know that these people had a shitload of guns because it was reported to them that they had a shitload of guns? Then the question is, this guy's talking about always getting hassled by the cops. Was he always being hassled by the cops? Had they been doing a bunch of welfare checks on him? Or it should be the case that he was being hassled by the cops. Like, this guy, he crosses the border with a shitload of guns. You probably should be checking in on that guy. So if they weren't doing that and he's just crazy, why weren't they doing it?
Okay, so there's still obviously a lot to come out about this. It is. Is there anything else to it that we need to know?
No, I think that's sort of the long and short of what's been going on. It's the weird thing is that it's sort of gotten a bunch of people to pick a position that I think have been unthinkable not too long ago. Like, all of these conspiracy people, remember during lockdown, and like they got touched up a little bit, right? But for the most part, they got a fairly light touch. And
now, just to clarify, you mean the cops gave them a bit of a belting in the streets?
Yeah, the anti-lockdown protesters, they got touched up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I would say, compared to the way that like environmental protesters have been treated, and other more worthy causes throughout the years, like, it was fairly light on, especially considering that they went pretty hard. There were times when, not to be a total bootlicker, but there were times when people were like just actively bashing cops at these protests.
Yeah.
And they got let off pretty lightly. There have been a lot of people who would not be far from the trains politically or in terms of their capacity for violence, who were getting treated fairly lightly at these things. Anyway, it didn't take much for them to go from, at the start of the lockdown protests, when they're like, we love the cops, come over to our side, guys, to a couple of years later being like, yeah, if you're a cop, you deserve to get shot. Whereas I see people who've had the shit kicked out of them at lefty protests over the years who are like, we need to reform the police, or we need to abolish the police, but we definitely shouldn't be shooting them in the head.
Yeah.
These guys, they got pepper sprayed once and they're like, yeah, we've got to kill them.
Yeah, you think of Indigenous activists and I guess Indigenous people being locked up in Australia, and that the escalation that happens now from these kind of cooked right wing guys, they've just fast forwarded to like the most extreme without anything else.
Yeah, they got there real quick, and without being touched up that much.
Yeah, and they got a bloody thrill. They got a new community. Isn't that enough? Stick with your new community. Keep doing your little rallies on a Saturday. Don't just get super violent with it.
So, Robbo, we found a few conspiracy theorists talking about this on BitChute.
Yep.
One in particular I found quite interesting.
Yeah, this is Otis Moonlight, and I just clicked on a whole bunch of videos to just kind of crash course what some cookers were saying, and I came across Otis Moonlight, who is probably not your stereotypical conspiracy theorist in the sense that he's British and also a furry.
Yeah, he's a bad furry. He doesn't like the furry community. He says the furry community are very intolerant, he says.
Right. Oh, you watched one about LGBTQI plus issues. I tried to get a handle on... He's so boring. He's just one of these ones that's just not compelling. And the only reason you're watching is because he's wearing quite a well-made furry suit or fursuit.
Mm.
I noticed he had multiple heads because I saw in another video he had different eyes. You know, I'm no expert, but it looked good. It looked like he'd spent money on it. But he wasn't really compelling or saying much. Then I got distracted because I saw he had a video that was him talking about Richie from Boston, who's a name we might remember from like early episodes of the podcast. And I think Richie from Boston had called him out for something, and Otis was trying to be diplomatic, and he said, you know, I'm tempted to call him Shitty from Boston, but I won't. And then I think he starts to go on about how I think Richie from Boston took issue with Otis, the furry, because Otis had said that people who didn't want the jab had had less normal lives than the rest of the population, and that people from, you know, whose parents might have been divorced or from, you know, different, not different, I guess, but families who are made up of you know, not a mother and father, were more likely to be anti-vax. And he's saying that wasn't normal. Yeah, so I think he was pro-vax, Otis the furry. But it's really hard to take someone who's saying, like, you know, people from divorced homes aren't normal, or like on face value, that's not an okay thing to say. But also when he's wearing a fucking fursuit, like, what are you talking about? It's really confusing, and I never got to the bottom of why him and Richie from Boston were having a beef. And to be honest, I don't think I ever will. I think I spent far too much time on it to get nowhere.
I think he had like a complicated idea about the vaccine, because I think he was against the vaccine, but he had like a video called For and Against the Vaccine. This was weird too, because he's on BitChute, he's on Nazi YouTube, but he's using like all the code words. Like he's calling it the smack scene and the vaccine. You don't need to do that on BitChute. They're not going to moderate you.
Oh, okay. So vaccine is a way to get around content moderation.
Yeah.
He wasn't saying it's a whack scene. He wasn't doing a portmanteau of like a whack thing.
No.
It's whack. Right. Okay.
Also, in his video about the shooting, he was shooting it in his bathroom, and I think he was doing that so that he could be talking to the camera.
Yes.
But at the same time, in the mirror, you could see his tail wagging.
Yes. He 100% has posed that so you could see the back of his fursuit.
It just seems a little insensitive.
I mean, he might have put a bit of effort into the suit and the mechanics inside.
Yeah, I didn't notice the tail wagging.
Just proud. Just proud of his handymanship.
Well, yeah, and as I said, seemed to be a nice fursuit. Not as nice as the cat video that's going around of the person in the cat fursuit. They look like they're working at a supermarket or something. In the video, the Twitter account or the tweet about it says like, imagine if you're high and walked in and saw this. Because it's like a really convincing cat human suit. Quite funny. I'm just pulling up that video again and seeing if his tail was wagging automatically. No, I think he just sways. He's swaying from side to side as he talks.
So yeah, the other sort of thing that's happened as a result of all of this is heaps of like the influencer class of the conspiracy theorists. So like David and O'Neglio, or David O'Negs as he's known, and people like that who doesn't necessarily benefit them to be associated with cop killings. But there's like heaps of people in their communities who are like pretty pro that happening. When it's been pointed out, you know, you've got people in your Telegram chats who are saying this all the time. They're like, now they've come up with this idea, infiltrators have came in and then setting us up. They'll post something and then they'll delete it. So they get a screenshot of it and then they can say that we're condoning this, which would be, you know, fair enough to say if you hadn't had people for 2 years every day saying we want to kill cops, we want to kill nurses, we want to kill, you know, teachers, etc.
Yeah, the whole movement's been calling for public executions since pretty much the start of it.
Yeah. The other thing I saw was someone claiming predictive programming.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
And the predictive program was, I think, the son of a New South Wales police accountant who was killed in New South Wales a few years ago, who is now a teacher, and he was giving a talk at some event. And it's like, so what's the predictive programming? I think it's just teacher, police killed. It's supposed that's not predictive programming. You could take any event and say it was predictive programming if that was going to be as loosey-goosey as it needed to be.
Yeah. That's low effort predictive programming theory right there.
Yeah.
You need to get Russian vids to watch 6 hours of wrestling and tie that in, not just a guy did a thing.
Yeah. And some of the proper nouns were the same.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For me, that's not good enough, but they eat it up. So who's to say?
I've just had a Otis the Furry video playing in the background, and I've just spotted that in some videos, maybe all of them, he has a lapel mic that's clipped on to the fur on the front of his jaw. So it's just kind of hanging off the jaw of his suit. And in the background of this one, there's a painting of a lady furry in the exact same sort of fursuit. I can only see half the painting. I can only assume that he's in the other half of the painting. But yeah, it's just another final Otis the Furry update for you.
So yeah, that's the situation as we understand it. I did almost consider leaving this. I thought if we leave this for next year, at the rate that things have been coming out, in a few weeks, we'll have a completely different understanding of what led up to this.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the conspiracy world, and we'll talk about this in the news, little teaser for the news, huge swathe of JFK files were dropped this week. I think all the files have been released. No one gives a shit. The conspiracy world is just completely, I don't know, who cares? I think I saw one thing on the Reddit conspiracy forum and just nothing else.
I saw I think Tucker Carlson did a story on it. I saw RFK being like, oh, finally some brave journalism. All right, well, shall we leave it there?
Yes.
All right, where can people find us online? We are on Twitter at Hypothepod. Have you set up a Mastodon for us yet, Robbo?
No.
Did you get on?
Did you get on bloody Twitter because we'll get banned?
Yeah. Did you get on Mastodon in the end?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Luke at thick.social.
Salty, where can they find you?
Yeah, the Salt at Thick Horse.
That's right, Thick Horse.
Twitch.tv/the Salt. That is good enough.
And you can get me at Sexenheimer at mastodon.lol.
There you go.
All right. Oh, I didn't actually say my Mastodon. I don't know how to say it. Luke at mastodon.nz.
Do I follow you?
Yeah. Remember, because I'd set it up that I'd blocked you, and I was waiting for you, weeks for you to find out that I'd blocked you. And then for some reason you're like, oh, I just can't find you. I was like, oh, right. That's how blocking works. It doesn't come up to say that you've been blocked.
We're also on Patreon, Hypothepod, and thank you to Tammy, our cooked $33 sponsor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, if you live in the South Island of New Zealand, you can buy my beer in most towns now. So,
oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
pop into your bottle shop.
No, not in bottle shops. Pop into your supermarket.
In a supermarket? In Countdown?
Actually, I don't think I'm in any Countdowns. I'm in most New Worlds.
Yeah, all right.
Most New Worlds and Fresh Choices.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, New Zealanders know what that is.
Yeah, make a fresh choice and get Robert's.
If you buy a couple of my 6-pack, you get a couple of stickers. And you know what you're going to use those stickers for? Kiwis will understand.
So, yeah, make sure you check out Robbo's beer. What's it called? VB?
It's not called VB, Cam. Come on, mate. Short Jaw. Check us out at 10 Lyndhurst Street in Westport when you're travelling through. You're going to go to the seal colony. You're going to go get some pies, and you're going to come and visit me for a beer, and we can talk about what seals you saw.
That sounds like a bloody treat, if you ask me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It sounds like it's being facetious, but that's a good day out.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye all.
Don't worry about a thing, except if all our world leaders are alien reptilians. I said don't worry about a thing, except maybe the fluoride in our water supply supply contains mind-altering drugs. Don't worry about a thing, except whether or not Port Arthur was a false flag operation in which to disarm Australia. I said don't worry about a thing. Except you can definitely hear John Lennon say, I buried Paul at the end of Strawberry Fields forever. Ooh, don't worry about a thing. Except not only did Bush do 9/11, but he also keeps the planes out in Area 51, which, let's not forget where all of the aliens are. Don't worry about a thing. Except Donald Trump is clearly a